Are you going to be paying personal reparations, Prince Harry? Because if so, I'd like to see you give that 7 million you just got paid back. That 7 million that came from the late Queen Mother. If this is how much slippery Starmer and Loony Lammy have given away and conceded in less than 5 months, where the hell are we gonna be in 5 years? At this rate, there won't be any Great Britain or United Kingdom left. We'll just be a flattened, broke, woke and withering shadow of our once great empire. After initially talking tough on reparations and rebuffing all the ludicrous suggestions of paying anywhere from hundreds of billions to 18 trillion pounds, literally our entire economy, today in Samoa, where King Charles is leading Choggum, a pathetic capitulation from Labour. So first this morning, the BBC reported Commonwealth heads of government are preparing to defy the UK and agree plans to examine reparatory justice for the transatlantic slave trade. The current text of the draft summit communique leaked to the BBC said this: heads, noting calls for discussions on reparatory justice with regard to the transatlantic trade and enslaved Africans, agreed that the time has come for a meaningful, truthful, and respectful conversation towards forging a common future based on equity. The answer from the UK, then and there, should have been nope, never, hell no. But instead, within hours, we learn of an imminent capitulation. The Daily Mail's political editor Jason Groves posted on X, Whitehall source suggests Starmer could sign up to a Commonwealth summit communique that references slavery reparations, but says this would not necessarily mean there is a change of policy. Not necessarily. Okay. Goodness, we all know where this is going, so no wonder Farage furious today.
For no slavery past. No, never. Now, there is an argument for reparations, obviously. I think the French, during the 100 Years' War, I think the raids into Kent and Sussex, the loss of so much. I mean, where do you stop with this? Where do you stop with this? Do you go for reparations against the African black slave traders who sold the slaves to us in the first place? I mean, you know, actually, are we owed reparations from the Portuguese, Spanish, who carried on slaving, and we at a massive cost stopped them doing it? Look, if you give an inch on this, if Starmer shows any weakness on this, even if we might consider it, this will never go away. And I think I detect something going on here. The Chinese Communist Party have been doing their very best to chip away at the Commonwealth for quite some time. Barbados, Solomon Islands, etc. And I think some of these excessive demands, I think China's behind it. We must stand firm.
But it's no wonder we are where we are when we have a Foreign Secretary who literally said this.
I'm afraid, as Caribbean people, we are not going to forget our history. We don't just want to hear an apology, we want reparation.
Lammy and Starmer are betraying the British people. And I have to be brutally honest here, King Charles didn't help. He didn't help in Kenya last year, saying slavery was a, quote, conversation whose time has come. Why, Your Majesty? Your government ended it in 1833. And your current government insists we are now dead broke. Of course, this move will be celebrated by the dreadful, by the deceitful Prince Harry, by the awful Meghan Markle, who betrayed the legacy of the late Queen Elizabeth II by campaigning against the Commonwealth in their awful Netflix score-settling documentary, even though the late Queen Elizabeth II had given them the incredible role of trying to protect and preserve the Commonwealth. So shame on them. Shame on them for making this so much more difficult for Charles and William now. And it's all the more ironic, isn't it, given they live off inheritances from actual members of the British royal family. Are you going to be paying personal reparations, Prince Harry? Because if so, I'd like to see you give that 7 million you just got paid back. That 7 million that came from the late Queen Mother. I'd rather send the Commonwealth a message, though, from my friend Alex Phillips, who published this brilliant open letter on X today. Let me read it to you. Dear our friends in the Caribbean, we've had a look at history, and we can recommend that you ask for reparations from Benin, Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, Cameroon, Chad, Nigeria, Ghana, and Mali for capturing and selling slaves to Europeans. Meanwhile, given Britain led the way in ending slavery, spending an astonishing 40% of our entire national budget in 1833 to buy freedom for slaves and a further 2% of our GDP on the West African Squadron, which seized over 1,600 slave ships and freed 150,000 at a cost of 1,600 Royal Navy sailors, we would like you to thank us by offering to pay 40% of our annual budget this year and 2% of our GDP. That's £480 billion plus £11.4 billion. We can settle for £450 billion, if that's easier. We estimate this will be the size of Rachel Reeves' black hole next week. The invoice is in the post. Love, Britain. But instead, Starmer and Lammy will equivocate and eventually capitulate, because that's what the woke really want to do. Destroy the West. Now it's time for the uncancelled interview. And I am absolutely delighted today to be joined by two bombshells. And they are quite literally bombshells, host of the brilliant podcast Bombshells, which is available to subscribe on YouTube, Fleur Elizabeth and Amy Jemima. So great to have you both here. So, Fleur, can you believe it? Starmer talked tough, and then immediately a capitulation on reparations, which could have dire consequences for us historically.
I can believe it, because the nightmare that's been this government, nothing's a surprise anymore. It's just every day you wake up and think, well, I'm starting to think, how have my fellow citizens voted this government in? Thankfully, I do not take any blame for this. I didn't even vote in the election. So, yeah, but, you know, just ahead of the budget when we're going to have huge tax rises, and I already hate how my taxes are being spent. And for them to be spent on paying historical reparations is just absolutely insane.
I know. And the thing is, obviously they lied, Amy, didn't they? They lied constantly during the campaign. However, we did know what they thought. People should have been sensible. I mean, there is Lammy literally saying we owe the Caribbean reparations, and he's now Foreign Secretary. But first, we've partnered with Gundry MD to share this information with you. Would you believe me if I told you inside your pantry right now is one of the healthiest foods on the planet? Yes, it's true, and it's not some weird, trendy superfood. Spoiler alert, it's olive oil. You've probably used to cooking with it, but there are countless ways to use olive oil to help yourself look and feel younger. For example, olive oil is a natural way to help you achieve a more youthful appearance. Besides helping you look younger on the outside, it's a fantastic tool for your insides as well. According to Dr. Stephen Gundry, a famous cardiothoracic surgeon, nutrition expert, and health advocate, you should get as much high-quality olive oil into your daily routine as possible, whether it's taking a shot of it daily or keeping a bottle of it in your bathroom medicine cabinet. But what kind of olive oil is best for your health? Well, any olive oil can give you some benefits, but if you're looking to get the best results, it matters a lot which one you pick. The olive oil industry is huge, you see. You can tell by the number of olive oil brands you can see at the grocery store, and you can bet they're not all made with the consumer in mind. And many brands may even cut corners one way or another to increase profits. When Dr. Gundry came to that realization, he was appalled. But some olive oils are so powerful, it may only take a few tablespoons a week to see these incredible health benefits. So how can you tell between an olive oil that can be a health booster and which one isn't up to par? Well, in an effort to answer that question, Dr. Gundry has decided to take a stand and release his personal research and findings. This video has gone viral since its release, and it's important you see it so you can start benefiting immediately. So you can watch the video right now by going to getolive1.com/outspoken, or you can just click on the link in the description box below. So that's getolive1.com/outspoken, or you can just click in the description box below on the link. People who have taken his advice have shared their results with him, saying the olive oil they brought after learning his simple rules have helped change their lives. So make sure you go to getolive1.com/outspoken or click on the link in the description box below this video. But now, back to the show.
Not a single penny in reparations. Because, look, the reality is, frankly, lots of other countries owe us.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the Royal Navy and the British taxpayer that stopped the slave trade over many years, about 170, 200 years ago, and we should be thanked for that. Not then said you've got to pay a bill. And you know, there were vast legions of people along the way who made money out of the vile slave trade, including tribal leaders and rulers and kings in African countries. So let's just stop.
Amy, go for it.
Yes. Oh, I'm back. Great. Yeah, well, it's hardly a surprise, seeing as the Tory party were seeming to be going down this route, but because Labour was always so much more ideologically invested in things like CRT and other ideologies that you can list, but it's just hardly a surprise that they were actually going to embed this stuff in law, and it hasn't taken them very long. I think Nigel Farage has been talking about this for so many years, since, I think 5 years ago, there was a big stink about sort of returning lands to become independent outside of our Commonwealth. So it's really, if you're going to start to give away stuff to nations as a whole, you've really got to start thinking about other countries that have sort of who are invested in those countries and have control over those. So you'll just be sort of giving everything back into things like China, I think. So you want to be thinking about where things are going to go, how will things get redistributed, and to make other forces who aren't necessarily friendly more powerful against us.
Of course, and the thing is, it's such a slippery slope, isn't it? I'm just looking at Alison Pearson, my friend, the Daily Telegraph columnist Fleur on X, and she has just posted, if the UK pays reparations for slavery, I will campaign for compensation for the descendants of British child labourers. My beloved grandfather went down the mine aged 12. Like thousands of kids sent underground, he died early from lung cancer. Working class people did not benefit from white privilege. And of course, that is the reality, isn't it? If Britain were to be bankrupted today, it would be the working classes, the working people who suffered.
Yeah, but I think Farage was completely right, and I think Alison makes a very funny point there. When does it stop? I mean, my ancestors came to the British Isles in 1575 because they were being persecuted for being Protestants in France. Am I asking the French for reparations? No, but if we're going to do this crazy stuff, I might as well. I feel like I pay enough in taxes. I might just try and get some back from any source that I can. But yeah, when does it stop? We've got all through history, different groups of people have wronged other different groups. And yeah, the Congo kings were selling their own citizens to the slave traders. So yeah, it's so messy. And also, no one was there to say who was really at fault. And no one alive today is responsible. So it's utterly insane. But like I say, nothing surprises me anymore, because I think everything that's happening right now is unbelievable and crazy.
No, but we did pay, though. That's the thing. And what's so frustrating is this idea that we should be punished again. Because let's just look at the actual facts here, Amy. So in 1833, we actually used 40% of our budget to buy the freedom of the slaves. Now, we had to borrow money to do that. It was all agreed through the Slavery Abolition Act, and we didn't actually pay it off until 2014. So actually, living British citizens today, you and me, and probably most people watching, have actually paid taxes to help end the slave trade already.
Yeah. And this is another thing that you just can't really quantify. So obviously in the last 600, 700 years, there have been awful things. It's like, welcome to the planet, welcome to humanity. Surprise, bad things gonna happen. But if you look at things like the amount of work or development that Britain has done for the rest of the world, and we've led engineering, mathematics, and all literature in so many ways.
We need to be proud.
In sort of industry.
Totally. I mean, in all seriousness, where would the world be without the British Empire? Seriously.
Yeah, and I think we're such a charitable country.
Yes.
So if you were going to then quantify, to contradict this, if you were going to quantify all the charity and the development that we've been part of in the rest of the world, well, I'd like to see that money back. I'd like to see our strategic development around the world be rewarded too. Thank you very much. So there's trade-offs to be had, and obviously I'm so proud to be British, less and less so now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I'm still proud to be British.
Of course, but the thing is, I think the reason you say less and less so now is because the people who are leading us are so clearly not proud to be British. They are so clearly embarrassed and ashamed of our history.
Or David Lammy, who just stood up and called himself Caribbean.
Yes.
Like, pick a side.
Or Narinder Kaur, who yesterday said that she's bitter and resentful that her parents moved here from India and actually she'd want to go back. I mean, it's really shocking what's happening. Fleur, what do you make of my little call to Prince Harry? Because remember, Prince Harry and Meghan did cause genuine damage over this, especially in the Caribbean. Like, I know that we look at their Netflix documentary and think, oh, you're pathetic. Do you know what I mean? But in the Caribbean, it was actually embraced by politicians. They have gone to visit Jamaica. They are personally close to the Jamaican Prime Minister. Obviously, that's one of the countries who are leading the calls for reparations. Well, shouldn't Prince Harry, rather than spend the £7 million that he's just received from the late Queen Mother's inheritance, why doesn't he put that into slavery reparations personally?
Yeah, put your money where your mouth is. I completely agree. I think if you are pro paying these reparations, dig into your pockets and pay it. But I know that I had nothing to do with it, and so I'd rather not. But it is very frustrating having Prince Harry, who has completely distanced himself from not only the royal family, but the UK, being this figurehead that other countries still see him as representing the UK, and going across that and they think, oh, this is the British perspective, when it's not. Like, they clearly hate this country. That's why they've left, and especially Meghan. So it's not right that he's taking on this role and being the voice for the British people when,
well, Amy, he's almost become a pin-up for the Republican movement now, hasn't he? But again, it's so ironic given this is a guy who literally has had every privilege in life as a result of being a member of the British royal family.
Well, I think you can't overestimate his intelligence on this one, because you just
I never overestimate his intelligence, I promise you.
Well, yeah, on the whole, but on this, I don't think he could do the mental gymnastics to work out the irony for himself. And if he actually wants to recognise his own extent of privilege, then I think he would not be barking at the rate he does.
Exactly. He would be just keeping quiet about this, he'd be shutting up about this, because you're so right. He is like the biggest hypocrite in the world. And I think, look, the thing is, you don't want to overestimate the importance of Harry and Meghan, but they had a direct impact, especially in the Caribbean. And the thing that makes me so upset about it is that the life's work of Queen Elizabeth II was establishing the Commonwealth. She gave them that special position to try and strengthen the Commonwealth bonds. And look at what they did. They trashed her, and it just makes me so angry. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source, and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.